this to you. If a company is based here in the UAE, but they want to take part in the actual incubator that we have in the UK, are there any rules and regulations with regard to foreign companies taking part in the incubators that you run?
At the moment, because the way that the company is operated, it is about 50% funded by the UK government. So when we say that this is provided for free, it is effectively supported through public funding. So the testbeds that we have are at least in part, sometimes fully, funded with public funding. So because of that, the focus is very much on the growth of the UK companies and potentially export. Of course, there are two ways that you can do that. One is that through partnerships with similar organizations that may exist in UAE, which I don't know yet, but we have, for example, one with South Korea, and working on something with China, and certainly with Canada, where we have sister organizations which they can leverage the same kind of scheme in their country, but then we provide cross-expertise. So that is one. The second one, which of course it happens already, so one of the companies, they have a UK-based headquarters, so they are a registered company in the UK, and through that then of course for all intents and purposes they are a UK company. So I don't know how close to legal that sales, but that is how we operate. Unfortunately, we cannot accept at this stage companies that are not registered in the UK to come and be part of our testbed. We have international clients, of course, from US and others, but they will come in as commercial clients. So by all means, if you want to access the technology and the expertise, then there is a commercial route, but not the incubator route.
My question to you is the technology 5G. So I have developed a software for SMS manufacturing. Okay. So now 4G is already there. My challenge is our software is a cloud-based software. So if you usually see in India, the manufacturing units are outside the city. The infrastructure, the telecom infrastructure is not that great there. Okay. So they have a difficulty using cloud-based software as 4G is also in there. So the 5G, if you can see the developing countries, underdeveloped and developed countries, the infrastructure varies, the telecom infrastructure varies. So for the 5G to reach that kind of a market segment, so it takes huge time, right? So is there any way you can shorten that, or any infrastructure decision has been taken where the 5G can reach out to the areas where a lot of SMEs and manufacturing, which is not in the city?
It's in the manufacturing space. It's a very well known, and it was mentioned yesterday during the conference several times that typically manufacturing base will be where land is cheap and labor is cheap. Not necessarily that will mean within one country or globally. It doesn't really matter. And typically infrastructure there is not particularly great. Also in the UK, the same problem that you're raising for manufacturing will exist also for rural connectivity. So coverage is one of the biggest issues for cellular, because there is, under public network provisioning, the national level coverage obligations that a telco will have today, there is no real economic incentive, there is no commercial incentive, not economic, but there is no commercial incentive for them to go and provide coverage, to provide a service in areas with a low density of users. So that's one of the... Now, if 5G needs to be considered that it is providing it's an access network. So it is effectively a mechanism that untethers us from the point of connection to the network, which is typically the base station. The base station, with the rest of the network, and your public internet and the data center, the public cloud, typically will be connected with fiber. So if you have remote location, you still will need to have a fiber solution, or potentially an equivalent suitable microwave solutions. And there are technology advances that are more sort of quiet. So for example, all three major suppliers of technology, without counting Samsung, which is also very, very big in Asia. But Nokia, Ericsson, and Huawei have very, very high throughput 10 gigabit per second microwave links, exactly to provide a mechanism to extend the connection. But fiber will be the primary thing. Now, if we flip it over, and what could be the intervention? The intervention is, if it is a brown site and you are effectively building a factory, then connectivity needs to be brought to the manufacturing. And manufacturers usually have not considered that as a priority. So that is one. The second for 5G is the ability that, which is not necessarily a 5G feature, but 5G makes it extremely easier from a technology perspective to build what is called private networks in the facility. But that again doesn't take away, so that removes who invests for that facility. Instead of being a network operator, someone else probably invests. It could be still the network operator that builds it, but someone else pays for it, either the owner of the site or the manufacturer, whoever. But it doesn't, again, remove your primary pain point, which is the connectivity. So the other option, which is a real option in my opinion, is that cloud will shift closer to the base. So if you have a cloud-based solution, similar to the example that I gave before on the company, you need to consider if that could be shifted into a micro data center that it is operated on-premise for the manufacturer. But that requires a different kind of ecosystem. Who maintains that micro data center, high-performance computing cluster typically, who maintains that, and your dependency comes directly on who maintains that infrastructure. So that is where there will be some need for new things to effectively emerge as part of the digitalization solution. Nothing is very, very clear yet in that space. The driver for that is also that manufacturers still do not trust cloud-based solutions. They want things that they can still touch. It will change, but they want still things that they can touch, control, which typically means that things that are on site. So this is the best answer I can give on this, but yeah.
We have another hour until the conference starts, and I think it would be